By Jack Rakove, a professor of history and political science at Stanford University. He is also a Pulitzer Prize-winning historian and author. Thank you so much for joining us.
Happy to be here.
First, I want to get your reaction to this late-breaking news that the Justice Department named former FBI Director Robert Mueller special counsel in this Russia investigation. How significant is this? What does it mean? What does it show?
Well, I think it's an important step forward. It's very important for the Justice Department and for the Deputy Attorney General to retain control of the investigation, to demonstrate that processes of orderly investigation are going forward. It probably guarantees that there will be a very systematic disclosure of additional information, which will be available both to the Justice Department and eventually to Congress. And so we're in this very dynamic situation. And putting a reputable former head of the FBI in charge of it is a significant step.
He led that department for 12 years, from 2001 to 2013, under two presidents. So both sides of the aisle, fairly recent. What do you think he brings to the investigation, and how will this affect the other investigations currently taking place by the House and Senate committees?
Well, I think the relationship between the Justice Department and the two houses of Congress will get somewhat more complicated, particularly the more respectable the Justice Department investigation looks. To a certain extent, the two houses have to be a little bit more deferential. But in the end, there's going to be a net increase of information that's going to flow between the departments, and depending on what's discovered and where the investigations go, it's entirely plausible that momentum will build up that could very well lead to serious consideration of President Trump's impeachment.
You know, a lot of people are asking, how much more can President Trump and his administration take? Can the White House recover and make it to 4 years?
Well, I personally don't think the White House can recover, because Trump seems to me to be incompetent to be president of the United States. So in a sense, there are really two issues at play here. One is the question of whether or not he might be impeached, with the Russia issue, or Russiagate being the leading edge of that investigation. I think there's another question, which Trump's behavior, which is so mercurial, so narcissistic, so self-absorbed, so inconsistent, so uninformed, so defiant of the conventions of governance. A lot of people, myself included, are starting to think that the 25th Amendment is going to come into play. And 25th Amendment allows the vice president and the majority of the cabinet to try to reach some determination as to whether or not the president is still competent to do his duty. You know, we've never had a president like Trump. He is distinctly a unique, truly unique character in American history. And knowing how to evaluate him on the one hand is very difficult, because there's been no one like him before. And on the other hand, the fact that he's so ignorant about how the government works really impugns his ability to serve as president.
Well, you're a historian. I was going to ask you, has anything like this even come close to in anything in U.S. history ever happened like this before?
No, you really can't make any comparisons. There have been a handful of impeachment episodes, actually going back to Andrew Jackson and Richard Nixon and Bill Clinton and Andrew Johnson after the Civil War. But each impeachment situation is essentially unique. You know, we don't really have a doctrine of presidential impeachment. You have to look at the particular set of circumstances. Trump's circumstances are unique. They're unique precisely because he has no experience of government. And the experience he does have running a tightly held family business, which he could operate mercurially, is probably the worst possible preparation he could have had for becoming the sole repository of what the Constitution calls the executive power of the United States.
All right, Jack Rakove.
There just is no comparison.
Thank you so much for joining us from Stanford. We appreciate your insight.